The music went off, everyone got real quiet all of a sudden. Welcome. I'm pretty excited. I hope everyone got a baggie that came today. I originally made 125 thinking that would probably be about right for the presentation, and I know we're up to about 350 people, although it doesn't look like it. So I really hope everyone got a bag. If not, yeah, I don't have any on me anymore, so I hope you get to enjoy those, and they're going to come in useful later. So welcome. My name is Kyle Kitchen. I am a part of the District School Board in Niagara. I've been a teacher for 16 years. Most of those years spent in the grade 5-6 class, but in the last 6 years, I've been part of the IT for Learning team. This is a fantastic team. I've got the best job in the world, where teachers invite us into the classroom, and we go in and we work with technology, we work with the kids, we work with the teachers, we work at a school level. It's by far the best job ever because I get to work with K through 12 students, and we're made up of a team of EAs, of techs, of e-learning people, and it's just fantastic. Before I go on, can everyone just give a little round of applause for the bag hander outers? I really appreciate them helping us out. Thank you so much. I was just waiting for one to say like popcorn, peanuts, and just start handing stuff out. So welcome to the Experience of Three. Everything you read about a presentation, about what to do and what not to do during a presentation, I'm kind of the anti-that. Already I can see people getting vertigo because I'm a walker. It's not because I'm nervous, it's what I do. When I get passionate, when I talk about what I do, I like to walk. So I apologize to anyone that's going to get a little vertigo. I apologize to you guys because when I do the crowd surfing, that's where I'm going, right there. Okay, so it's on you too, just so you know. So before we get into the Experience of Three, you have to know a little bit about me, about where I'm coming from, because I want to have an experience with all of you here today. And where I come from is great, but I know why some people are here. They want to see the Experience of Three, but they're also realizing that, I got to check out my schedule today, and these are really comfy seats. Maybe I'll just stay here for that. Or perhaps you realize, and this is going to hurt, they shut down coffee service from 9:30 to 10:30. So maybe you're here because there's no coffee. Or you follow Twitter and you knew there were loot bags for all my friends. But I know you're not here for that. I know you're here to see what the experience is. And as I said, you have to know a little bit about me. First thing, very important, you need to know, I'm an 80s kid. I come from a very simple and awesome time where we got to play with lots of things. We had to go home on Saturdays because that's the only time cartoons are on. This is back when wrestling wasn't fake. Okay, it was always fake, but this is the time where I remember spending time with my dad. Every 4 months, they had the WWF main event on Saturday nights, 11:30. Best time ever. Now you can see wrestling whenever. These kids have no idea how easy they have it. But we had lots and lots of people, too, coming into our lives, and I want to share about where I came from. This is my family up here, and some of them are here today. They're mostly all here today. My dad is known as like a Mr. Fix-It around the house. My mom is a secretary who actually is retired now, but she worked in the school board of Niagara, and brilliant secretary. And my sister is a library tech at South Lincoln High School. So somehow we all ended up in the board in all different unique positions. And I went to a school not far from here called Vineland Public School. And to show you how times change, you can no longer go to that school because it did get torn down and they built up another school called 20 Valley. It's amazing. But the cool thing is, and this was fun last year, my friends and I got together. We all turned 40. Good. I didn't hear any, sorry about that. Thank you. So we went back and we went and saw our school because that new school, it's still there. It's just inside where we were before. So they broke down the buildings and put us in the new school. So those are my friends that I've known since I was 5. And we went back because we had such a great experience there. Why would you go back to a building that you didn't like? We loved this building. It was fantastic. And now I'm a cross-border shopper. I live in the States. I still work up here, still Canadian. I live with my lovely wife, Melanie, and my 2 kids, Cameron and Michaela. And my wife does pretty much the same thing I do, but in the States at a much higher level. She's amazing. And we're very outdoorsy. And you're going to hear a lot about these 3 once we get going because that's my experience using my kids as guinea pigs too. And of course, you got to put this up for the moment. My dog is Google certified. So she really likes Google. So here's what I want you to do. And this is so great. I should have mentioned before, but I'm following the keynote, who was a brilliant speaker. Brilliant. And I listened to her outside. I didn't want to come in to disturb anyone. I listened at the wall, but just an amazing speaker. And she had some good thoughts in here, and it's so funny because she could just take over my presentation. But I want you to open up your little mind palace right now. I want you to think back, and it's going to be hard for me because I'm 41 now, but I want you to think back to elementary. I want you to think back to that one moment you remember. Could have been a project, could have been a teacher, it could have been lots of different things. But I want you to think just for 1 or 2 seconds about what do you remember from elementary school? I'm going to share what I did, so think about it while I interrupt you, basically. I remember grade 6, and I remember my teacher, Mr. Waite. Mr. Waite, fun man, music teacher, had lots of fun. I got lots of nicknames from him. I was the nomad. I had that thing called verbal diarrhea. That's stuff I learned from him. And he created an experience for us, and I don't even know what it was about, but one day, all the students in the class, we had a picnic meal together in the classroom. The girls brought food, and the guys brought cutlery, and then they also brought the drinks. I don't even remember. I remember the girl I was with. It was Kelly. I don't remember her last name, but I do remember she brought KFC. Everyone else made stuff, and I got a bucket of KFC. And I think now, what was that purpose? What was he trying to do? Where in the world did that connect to any curriculum? And to this day, I'm still not sure. Maybe it was just about creating an experience, having a nice social event together, and talking face to face. So it's interesting because when we go into things, it makes me think, and I went to social media, and I thought, I should check this out too. So I posted on social media, and I found lots of my former students who are now 25, 26, they have kids, we got bioengineers, we got amazing people now, and I asked them the same question. What do you remember from elementary school? It doesn't have to be in my class, but what do you remember? And the crazy thing is they responded. They came out and they said so many awesome things that they remembered, stuff that I forgot about what was happening in my class. They talked about crazy lessons about literacy where I trashed my own room just so they could go around, photograph, and find the culprit who did it. And as teachers, I know everyone's like, inferencing. And then they also talk about failed things. We had a First Nations food festival that pretty much, it was still there when we finished because no one ate the food because it was so bad. It was awesome. It was a great experience. And they talk about totem poles. They talk about the commercials. And you can see there's lots of non-digital stuff, but it grows into digital as well. So it was fun because they reminded me of a couple things. So I dug back into the tombs of knowledge, and I found stuff. And now you guys know, when you want to find stuff from your childhood, who do you go to? Mom. Mom doesn't throw out anything. I can find my Transformers, although I sold them on eBay, but they have everything. So I went back and I found some stuff, and there was an experience I remembered, and it was this place called Camp Wanakita. It was this place that I took 26 grade 6 students. And this was when I was a new teacher, and so maybe not the smartest teacher in the world either, because I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to see the sunrise on a frozen lake at Camp Wanakita, which is near Halliburton? And, temperature maybe had been an issue. It was negative 32 degrees. But these are all the kids that woke up and joined me. This is at 4:30 in the morning. Now, I remember this experience because, oh my gosh, all these kids came out to enjoy the sunset. But the funniest thing is, these are the survivors that made it to sunset. Or sunrise, sorry. So I know all their names because we were on that lake having a great time. I'll always remember Michael because he said, Mr. Kitchen, it's really cold. When you get icicles on your eyelashes with a student, you remember that student. We had a fantastic time. And so I dug a little deeper, and I found other things that they mentioned. I found the totem poles. Look at that. 2002. Wasn't that like pre-cell phones? Unless you had the big one. But I remember the demolition derby car that we painted. I remember, there it is, there's the food festival that we had. Those are things they remember. Here's the other things I remember. That car represents a surface area of an irregular shape. That was my math lesson. The food festival, here's the reason why it didn't go good, because I maybe didn't do a good job of teaching equivalent fractions. And a teaspoon of salt versus half a cup of salt, I'm not a baker, but that's probably not right. And the totem poles, which is interesting because even now, as a new teacher, I didn't know. I create experiences not being the best judgment, but I wouldn't make totem poles now because it's not very respectful to our indigenous people. But they love doing because when I see that, I see literacy, I see math, but they couldn't work on the totem pole unless their entire team was present because it was a team-building experience. So all 7 of them had to be present before they were allowed to paint. And then we presented them, and they're still hiding somewhere in life, I'm sure. So these are the moments they remember. Now,
in the criminal justice
you got to watch this first.
School, the people are represented by 2 separate yet equally important groups: the students who investigate crime and Mr. Kitchen, who persecutes the offenders. These are their stories.
So this was that inferencing lesson, and this is what I love. You can see how bad the resolution was because that was like 10, 15 years ago that we did this. And the greatest thing is that that movie was made by those kids you saw. They won the inferencing challenge. They solved everything. They were the ones that created the idea of doing Law & Order. I don't watch Law & Order. And they said, yeah, my mom watches this show. It's cool. It's about lawyers and cops and stuff. We should do that. And so they're the ones that made the movie. And this is kind of my role now as a teacher. Apparently, I'm just a voiceover person. They just get me to do the voiceover recording, and they make all the stuff. And then one kid, of course, like a couple weeks ago said, you sound like Seth Rogen. And now I'm like, oh, that's all I can hear. So, so it's amazing that they remember, and you can see the technology coming in, what they can make. And that makes me think sometimes, we're teachers. We're all here. We're all learning. We're all driven to do better for our students. And what is that driving force? And we know there's the curriculum. We know there's the data behind that. We know that we have to find things that fit with what we do. But sometimes that driving force has to be that experience, that moment that your kids are going to remember when they come back as adults and they say, hey, remember when we did this? They're not going to remember the data behind that. They're going to remember the work you put in to create what it was you created. And it's an exciting time right now because, and I'm not political at all, because as I said, live in the States, I'm not pro-Trump, I'm not pro-Trudeau, I'm like right on the line, I'm basically in Niagara Falls. This is how I describe things, but it's pretty cool having a teacher in Parliament right now.
First of all, a good teacher is extraordinarily curious. We're very enthusiastic about our own learning. Maybe it's being surrounded by young people who are learning every day, but we ourselves as teachers are extremely curious about the world and always trying to pick up new facts, new ways of doing things, new ways of solving challenges, new ways of explaining complex issues.
Like, that's us. That's our profession. That's what we do. There's no other profession that strives and works as hard as we do to learn, to make something happen. We are experts at everything and nothing at the same time, so we have that driving force behind us to learn more. We're curious. No one hopefully ever gets into teaching because they know they have textbooks that they can give to their kids and they can not help them out. We're curious individuals. Now, gotta love when the blinker goes far ahead. There are 3 game changers that I feel in the last few years of education. And I'm going to talk about those game changers, especially in my role being K through 12 and curriculum and technology. The first game changer, definitely in my eyes, is coding. And now, there's me on that side. Notice, even in now, 2017, I'm the guy with the 3.5 floppy disks. I am not an expert in coding. I am learning with the students every time I go in and help students teach coding. If you want to learn great stuff about coding, you know Brian Aspinall is here. He is an amazing coder. We have people like Lee Martin that do coding all the time. Coding is fantastic, and the reason why I think it's a game changer is because of this style of coding. I now understand coding because of Blockly-style coding. Yeah, I can move a block that says move this. I don't know if your mind palates went back here, but I did coding back in 1980. It was a little triangle that I went to the library class for like one class called Logo. And I coded that little triangle to make a hexagon, and I would watch it. There it goes. Oh yeah, 3 sides, 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides. And that triangle would shoot off, and I could never make that hexagon because I'd made a turn left instead of right. And that was it. That was my experience. I never had a teacher come over and say, oh, that's okay, try again. Try doing something this way. So coding now tests students to try, to persevere. It's cross-curricular. It's computational thinking. It's the spatial reasoning that I wonder if that librarian back in my day talked about that stuff if I could have been an engineer. And I know the answer is yes. The other great thing about coding is it's not two-dimensional anymore. Some of my favorite things to do now is I go into kindergarten classes and we have maker coding days. So everything you see up here are kindergartners. They are coding. They are using their spatial reasoning to code robots to do stuff. The minute you introduce a robot, not only do you have the engagement piece, but if you look at these guys up here, they're not just coding a B-bot to go through a maze. Those little bars you see, they're measurement tools. They're measuring how far a B-bot has to go in order to go through that. It's math. No one should ever just bring robots in because they can talk to each other. Have the kids code. And the great thing is, this is usually after a 2-minute, here's how you use it, and then watching us back away to see what they can do. I'm a big fan of the Ozobots on the far side, because you can code those guys by drawing lines and colors, and you can code them online with a Blockly-style coding. So these have been a huge game changer. This is Natalie Hampton. If you know who she is, she had a problem. She had a problem that many kids today have. She had a problem called bullying. And here's my problem, and sorry, I'm going to get political, because my kids go to school in the States. The biggest problem with school systems in the States has nothing to do with curriculum. It has to do with the cafeteria. The cafeteria is that place where you choose whether you want to sit with that person or not. You choose whether you want to talk with that person or not. And she had this problem to the point where she got bullied and didn't want to go to school. So she solved her problem. She decided to use her coding skills, and she built an app. She built an app called Sit With Us. And what that app does is you can go on and register, and you can be an ambassador. And when you go to the cafeteria and claim that you're an ambassador, other people can log on, and it's anonymous, and they'll find that you're offering a spot to come sit with them. That, to me, is amazing educational coding. It's not about the robots. It's not about learning this. It is a problem. She wanted to solve something. She wanted to do something. She used her skills to build an app. And you're going to see it today. I hope you get to the expo and you go further past all the vendors, and you're going to see a ton of girls in there coding. The Technovation program, they are amazing to the point where I was in a library, I think Caroline's here, and they were working on their apps, and I just sat down because I had no idea how they were doing this. It was amazing, and they taught me so much on that one fitness break that I was there. The other game changer is Genius Hour. Genius Hour is fantastic. If you don't know what it is the 20% Google rule where people get to work on whatever they want for 20% of their time. Now think about this. If you go back to school tomorrow and they say you get an hour and a half to work on whatever you want, wouldn't you want to go to school tomorrow? Of course. What would you do? What would you make? What would you create? What would you learn? So many things. And it's such a student-driven thing that students can go in and find their passions. They can learn to create, and they can become an expert on something that they want. The only problem is it's called Genius Hour. Well, why not make it Genius Hours? When students are passionate about what they're learning, they are driven and motivated to learn more. And I've seen some amazing Genius Hour projects in school. I've helped a couple of schools with some of them. But I want to share one that obviously I'm going to be a little biased about because it's about my son, Cameron. Just background information, it's not that I'm showing this to the world, but my son has higher functioning autism. And he is the most loving, caring. Someone took an 80-year-old grandfather and stuck his soul in my son because he loves the world. But yeah, he's got all the problems that come along with autism. It's hard to do things for him sometimes, and it's hard to be social. So my wife teaches Genius Hour, and she decided that Cameron should have a Genius Hour project. Now, it just wasn't like happening. My wife worked with him. She found his passions. You know what he does? He loves animals. He wants to be an animal rescuer when he grows up. So, of course, my dad moment flips on. I'm like, animal rescuer, and I think go Diego, go right away. And I'm like, is this a viable option that he can learn and he can live on this? And so I questioned it while my wife worked with him. And here's what happened. He invented Cameron's Cookies for a Cause. He created a Facebook page. He recorded himself. He is the owner of Cameron's Cookies for a Cause. For $4, he will make you some delectable dog treats. And they taste good. I've had a bag or so. But he just didn't decide to make these. He researched the prices that it would cost to make these. He thought about what treats do dogs really like the most. And we all know peanut butter, of course. But he maintains this page to the point where he had to, due to popularity, had to take on a silent partner, my daughter. But it's his business. We're very hands-off with this. He cooks. And to this day, what does he do with all that money? What he does is he actually donates all the money to wildlife foundations. And within these wildlife foundations, he's raised almost $500. He's adopted a whale, a rhino, 3 wolves, and a bat on his own. And if he was here, he would tell you that I'm wrong. He has saved Mexican wolves, a white-nosed bat, a white rhino, and I don't even know what the other one was called. But that's his passion. And I was that person blocking that passion, and that hurt me as a dad and an educator. And I have to always check when I'm teaching kids, do not block passion, because that's the driving force behind education. When kids are passionate, they really, really want to learn. And the final game changer is makerspaces. Makerspaces are super popular in schools because it's that chance to tinker and create and build and apply knowledge to new problems. We've done a lot of makerspace in the last little bit, and kids are making stop-motion animations with a purpose. They're tinkering. And my favorite on the right, I just put a bunch of stuff on the table, and those kids were building stuff for 2 hours straight. 2 hours just tinkering, playing with LEDs. And the one girl, she blew a couple LEDs, and she was paranoid. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, that's awesome. But tell me, why? What do you think happened? Try something. See if you can make more go. And she did. She adapted. Because it's not so much the space, it's the mindset. Kids are creating, and they are learning, and they are building on their own. It's fantastic to see what they are doing. And as I said, my dad was Mr. Fix-It. But I have to tell you, my mom is the original gangster of making. And she's going to love this. My brother-in-law had a problem. I don't really know what it was. Apparently, he couldn't get his boots on very well. So she decided to buy him a shoehorn for Christmas. Normal thing, right? That's what moms do. They buy you awesome stuff, the underwear, the socks, the shoehorns. So she decided she just wasn't going to give him a shoehorn. She decided to give him 2. Well, here they are. So she's very crafty, but she made something. There is a purpose. These are shoehorn holders. And here's that reindeer up there. And I had an epiphany just recently when I saw this picture. I'm like, why does my mom do that? Why not just give him a shoehorn? Because I realized it's the same as me. You know what? Making makes me happy. And every time I've been with students, there are smiles on their faces. They're happy. They're creating. They're learning. And making makes me happy too. And guess what? It's contagious because my daughter has become an avid maker. And this is the daughter that said 1 year, I don't want to wear anything but pink. And she did. She wore pink for an entire year. Well, she found this store on the way to Pittsburgh, and it was a store of awesomeness. Basically, it was a store for hoarders. And you could take a bag, and for $13, you can put anything you want in that bag. Could you imagine how excited kids are when they can get junk for $13? So my daughter came back with a garbage can lid, some light bulbs, golf balls, a cookie container, and she went down in the basement. And she started building her robot. And I gave her tools, and then I just realized when I was making the slideshow, I didn't teach her how to use the drill. So here's my daughter gone for a couple hours with power tools, dad of the year, and here's what she made. She made Robo. And my daughter's had experience with a Makey, great little tool for makerspaces, conducting electricity, and she decided, hey, let's put a Makey on the robot so it looks more robotic-y. And I was game. And then, of course, my daughter, very artistic, very musical, she decided, well, let's take it one step further. Can we play music with this? And I'm like, yeah, we can. And so this is what we made, and I'm going to preface this. I am only in the video because she said I have to be in the video, and she said, look cool. I failed. This is a total dad moment for me. So every time she touches that conductive Makey, it plays that sound. Yeah. That's how I know she's mine. This is the look cool part, Dad. It's a normal weekend when you hook up bananas and play some white stripes. I play mean apple. Remember, I'm supposed to look cool. I don't. Here's what I love. I totally lose it. I have no idea what I'm doing. Wait for it. Here it comes. I'm just hitting apples now. Welcome to my weekends. No. So, why are these game changers? Well, because it gives students an opportunity to struggle. It gives students an opportunity to fail. And I know we think that those are bad things, but they're not. When I think of failing, I think of that big red F on a math test. I don't think about that opportunity where they can rise from those failures. From those struggle moments, they can achieve amazing things and get so ahead of everything. And then, from rising, they're going to have the successes. That's important. We give, and we have to, we need the data. We give a lot of formative assessments. But when you give that formative assessment and they don't do well, do they have that chance to try again, to see what that struggle was, to see what they did wrong, apply that knowledge, and then move forward from that? And this is why I love those three game changers, because they have that experience. If they make a movie and it wasn't that great, then they're going to hone their talents and hone their skills and do more. So what are we doing? We're documenting this process. It's not about the project anymore. It's about the journey. We're using things like DocuPenner. We're using Google. We're making digital portfolios where we get to share. The kids get to share. They're building websites, the new Google Sites. If you haven't been on it yet, my first Google Sites training, when it came out, 2 days later, I taught a grade 3 class how to make their own web pages, and they used it to show their science experiments. They didn't do it to say, I love ice cream, or tacos are great, and they didn't put a bunch of memes on it. They actually had scientific data and experiments going on this. And it's fantastic. So I tend to sit back, and I'm really going to geek out on you on this one is, who do I want to be as a teacher? I want to be this guy. Raise your hand if you know who this guy is. Thank you. I was really worried about this section of my presentation. This is Gandalf. And whether you have read the books or watched the movie, whether you're Lord of the Rings or Hobbits, he's a great teacher, because what happened? Both books, he went in and he talked to these people, and he got them together, and he had a problem, and he said, let's go on a journey together. And what's the first thing he did a couple days into the journey? He left. He left. He let those hobbits, he let that fellowship struggle. They had to struggle through all those things, whether it was trolls, orcs, sorry, really geeking out. And they had to go over and really think about how to proceed without a leader, because they were becoming the leaders. And then eventually what happened when it was like so problematic, he came back and he guided them. He helped them a little bit. And he told them, hey, maybe you should try this. But in both those books, Gandalf really didn't add anything to the final thing. He was that guide. So if Gandalf had Google, he would document Frodo's journey inside and out, because it's as simple as taking a picture now to show that student's learning. Now, because we started a little later, I need to give you a little bit of a brain break too, and this is actually where the packages come in. There is a purpose. I know everyone's excited, yay, loot bags, I love birthday parties, but no, they have a purpose. So inside your bags is your starter kit to your first paper circuit. So paper circuits are a fantastic way to teach electricity. I've seen it in grade 1 through grade 12. I love it. I hear the bags. And the first thing you need to know about paper circuits is it's electricity. So if you look at your LED light, you're going to notice, and this is how I teach the little guys, one leg is bigger than the other leg. That one big leg is a positive, and that little leg is a minus. And then eventually, yes, of course, we're going to get into electricity, but when you put that on the coin cell battery, you're going to notice that one side is a positive side, and the other side's a negative. So when you just put your LED over that coin battery, look what happens. Now here's what I'm loving. I'm seeing little lights. And where I don't see lights, I see people leaning over and saying, try this, do it this way. You can't help but be teachers, and I love it. So, inside is a card. You're not going to do it now. Maybe you can do this at lunch. Maybe you're going to save it, take it home for your kids, and say, look how cool I am. I got you this. And you can make a paper circuit because inside is copper tape, and copper tape is conductive. When you put the battery on a corner of a piece of paper, basically when you put the copper tape over, set the battery on, and then you make a circle, because we teach that electricity loves circles, and when you flip it over, it conducts. And you want to make sure when you do your little LED with the copper tape that you leave a little gap, because those arms are conductive, and that's what you need to touch the tape. So I made a little example for you just to show you. So here it is. And remember, I'm an 80s kid. Oh, I heard it. Someone is calling the Thundercats. So I know if I got this from Father's Day, I would lose my mind. This would be amazing. Everyone's going to start buying stuff. There's not enough for your whole class. But I ended up, and with the help of other teachers, we ended up teaching electricity to grade 1. It's amazing. It's grade 5. That's grade 6. But look what we can do now. So you're here for the 3 C's as well. And with the 3 C's comes a lot of building of an experience, because I want kids to have experiences, and there's a lot of C's there. There's communication, collaboration, we've heard the 4 C's, but my 3 C's are a little bit different, and I really focus on main ones that are going to build and empower students in your classroom, and the number one thing is creativity. Raise your hand if you have doodlers in your classroom. Yeah, we all do. I had several in my 1 year, and sometimes I wonder, are they doodling because they're bored, they don't understand what's going on, or are they just really creative? So I decided 1 year, I went through, surprise, another phase of my Indiana Jones phase, and I decided to introduce math journals, but I can't just do a math journal as a piece of paper. I have to go a little bit higher end, and I want to build the ancient text of Ma. Now here's a cool thing. I didn't think of this. I thought of math journals, and my students said, well, why don't we make it something cool? So with that, of course, you have to rise up, and I made this math journal, and they named it. They called it the Text of Ma because Ma was on the math schedule. That's what we called it on the schedule. And brilliant, I know. When we made these journals, I went back to my old school, which I do often to help out and visit. Chelsea, whose name is on that one, she's now an educational assistant in our board, and she said, I still have the ancient text of Ma. And I'm like, cool, let's bring it in, let me see it. So I looked down, like, there it is. There's all my notes, there's her notes, because this is how she learned math. And then I flipped through it, and I saw grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, 10, 11, 12. She used this text through her entire public and high school career from my class. That was so cool. I asked her why. She said, it clicked. It worked. That's amazing. I had another doodler, and she liked sketchbooks too, but here's the difference about that doodler. It wasn't about a different way to learn. That's what she does now. She was at a workshop that I did at a conference, and she doodled that while I was talking. It was just like old times. She's now going to Sheridan College as a graphic designer, specifically inking comic books. And that blows my mind. We have such talented kids. So those talents can create something new. Sketchnoting. Man, Sylvia Duckworth. She's a smart lady. I've seen her a lot. Has anyone tried sketchnoting? Sketchnoting is when you go to a lecture, like right now, you could be sketchnoting mine, and you're just probably me walking back and forth. But I tried sketchnoting. Yeah. I really want you to notice the snap. I broke Google Auto Draw my first try. It's not my passion. I am not an excellent drawer. I have other passions that I try and bring. I am one with multimedia. When a student asks, how can I do a book report differently? I am there. I'm using Google. I'm filming green screen. I love that stuff. That's my jam. And the kids even say, wow, you really like this. I'm like, yeah, I do. I get so excited about that. So I want you to bring, sorry, that's a coffee jive for you people waiting for the coffee out there. I want you to bring your passions. So I want to show you this little guy. This is Landon. And Landon, sorry, my age now, that commercial of that kid who was eating french fries at the camp for the strong silent type, there's like 7 of you who know what I'm talking about. So this is Landon, and we want to talk about courage. And what he did was he was watching me use this Padcaster. It's kind of an expensive piece of equipment. And he was watching me working with kindergartners, and he never said a word to me the whole 2 hours I was there. And you could see him looking at me and stepping over. This kid was looking at this Padcaster basically the way I look at a bowl of ketchup chips. He wanted that really badly. And he went to touch it, and the immediate reaction, and the teacher I was with is one of my friends, and you heard her, And so my thing that I'm very proud that I did was like, no, wait. And I walked over to him, I said, hey, buddy. And still wouldn't talk to me. I'm like, do you want to try it? And I'm like, okay. Do you want me to show you anything? He's 4 years old. And so he stepped up, and he started filming the green screen. And he filmed it so well that his job was to start teaching. That's why you always use your own technology. He started going over, and he started showing other students. So the one film had a lot of kindergartners coming in and doing their own green screen. He taught other students. Wasn't me, wasn't the teacher. We went and had coffee, I won't lie. And they filmed this amazing multimedia thing under the sea. It was fantastic. And so it made me think, what's the biggest problem with creativity? Sometimes it's fear. It's that fear of not wanting to make a mistake. And especially in this day and age with technology, raise your hand if you feel you're not tech savvy. Thank you for being honest. Raise your hand if you feel you're not math savvy. Did you stop doing math? No. We need to struggle and fail as well. When I teach new technology, I will immediately tell the kids, guess what, kids? I'm just learning this with you as well. So when you learn something cool, I want you to share. I want you to try it. Whew. So I was just in this class. This is grade 2. Teachers here. And I was invited in to teach them about the Makey Makey. In the Makey Makey, they made game controllers, they learned it, and it was awesome. I was there for an entire 2 periods, and they decided, hey, you know what, Mr. Kitchen? I know everything about it in 20 minutes. So what do? I adapt. I'm like, I wonder if we could teach these kids Scratch. So this girl is learning about Scratch, and not Scratch Junior, the full encoding, how to teach Scratch. And she discovered that she can move Scratch by programming stuff. And here's what I taught her. I taught her the one button that says, if you click this button, and that's it. That's all I taught her. And then she said, oh, well, we could move. And then they had questions. Well, how do we make it move? Well, here's a line, and that's X and that's Y. Oh, okay, that's cool. So, and then I stepped away again, and I heard a conversation. Okay, well, if I want them to move right, it's X moves by 10. All right, cool. And then they did that to the left and it didn't work. Why isn't it working? Well, it's going backwards, so maybe that's negative 10. So to me, at grade 2, just suddenly realized what a Cartesian plane is in grade 2. I'm pretty sure I didn't learn that till grade 6. Because we let them try. We let them experiment. This is my favorite movie. I'm warning you, it's shocking. There's a lot of courage in here. So I love hearing like, lots of types of courage. Number one, letting the teacher say, yes, you can do that. Because the minute all of a sudden that blood came out and that curtain came out, oh, that's not school appropriate. And I'm usually that one that says, I know. But, so they made a stop motion animation because we didn't have video cameras. And this was from almost 7 years ago. And they took over 1,500 pictures to make this movie. What you don't know is that girl who looks like she's from The Grudge, selective mutism, but she wants to be a filmmaker. It blew my mind when she created this. And the selective mutism is basically adults. So her and her friends worked this out, and she doesn't talk, and she didn't show her face even, because I think she wants to be the director. But how amazing is that? And that teacher allowing that to happen showed a lot of courage. It showed a lot of courage by her to make something global and share that. The last C to talk about is connection. And to me, this is one of the most important things about education. We need to connect with our students to be able to teach them well. My favorite thing, and I don't care if it's kindergarten to grade 12, my favorite thing is that student interest inventory at the beginning of the year. But here's something crazy. Do you do it throughout the year as well? Or do you just like one thing for the entire year? So we need to adapt this. And this is how I get my information. And now, of course, going digital, we use Google. It's great because they can answer those surveys. We can share that to them. So they get to see that investment too. Sometimes this just turns into an awesome parent-teacher night poster in the hallway. But this is really important. I really want to use these to get to know my students. Now, when we connect, sometimes we do read a lot. And these are the books that have inspired me the last year. But the problem with books for me is I'm a highlighter, and I use Google Keep, and I write notes. And I don't always have time to reflect to them. Don't talk to my wife about that one. So I need immediate professional development. And to do that, I go to my connections. And my connections live on the internet. They live on Twitter. And I know you probably have seen tons of things about Twitter, but to me, I want to specify how important this is. Twitter allowed me to meet people. And I don't follow Rihanna. I don't follow Drake. I follow professional educators who make a difference. I follow people who inspire me. And from those people, I meet other people. And from those people, it grows and grows. I talked to someone from Texas who called me, and it was interesting because, wow, you got a really Canadian accent. I'm like, yeah, you have a really good Texas drawl. And I taught him about makey-makeys over the phone. That doesn't happen. We're usually so focused on our school community, we don't realize we can branch out. And branching out is important because we need those connections. This is my immediate PD. When I need help, I have no problem texting or DMing any of these people. All right? Sometimes I have way too many conversations with these people because they just inspire me so much. And they're real. So Laura Fleming, Worlds of Making, she actually did a Google Hangout with our Maker program, and it was great. I met Angela Myers. She's really fun, especially after a glass of wine. And this is awesome. This just happened last month. Did anyone see this? A grade 2 teacher posted her survey on Twitter and said, please share. They're doing a survey, and we want to do a survey to get real data. There's all the hits. And if you're wondering how many people filled out the survey, it's a lot. It's 1.3 million people. That's huge. And if you go see this survey, it's, are you a farmer? Yes or no? Do you like tacos? Yeah. Although there's probably like 5 vegans. So I'm sorry, my vegan people, I love you. These are real instances. They're not made up. They're not people that are super creative and there's no way I could be them. They're us. They are real live people. And can you imagine? And when you see the Twitter comments, there's no way those kids can handle all that data. And it's brilliant that she had that idea to do that. And there's people I met. I'm going to point out Lee Martin, OTF Teacher of the Year. I want you to focus on the kid in the lower right. Look at him. I don't care what Lee's doing, and yes, he's wearing a pirate costume, so I'm in. But when you see that in a student at school, congratulations. You've made a connection. You're going to bring out his creativity. And thank you for having the courage to work with those students and to just make them be awesome. Like, I can't stop. I keep looking at the TV and get distracted because he's right in there. Like, that's how I want my students to be. That's the kind of teacher I want to be. So I want to help you with your experience today. And here's where the maker bags come in. I want to help with your experience because throughout today, I want you to take your LED light, and I want you to take your coin cell battery. And when you see something awesome today, you're going to see brilliant people today. All right? And I know not everyone's here. I wish I could extend this all the way because, trust me, Friday, you're going to see an amazing presenter, Rob Dunlop, talk about motivation and happiness of teachers. But here's what I want you to do. Number one, I'm going to get you all to join Twitter if you're not on there already. And then when you go to another workshop or you go to the expo hall and you see something that changes your mindset, that inspires you to do something, that you want to take home and show your kids, I want you to hold up your little LED light and your coin cell battery, and I want you to take a picture of it. And I want you to tweet it out. And I want you to not only just put in my handle, but I want you to put in the Can Connect Ed handle as well. And the reason for that is there's 300 plus people here. How many connections are you going to make today? A ton. How many amazing things are you going to see to create a moment? A ton. So I want you to tweet that out, and I want you to show experiences that people are missing because then those people are going to connect with you, and they're going to go see what they missed out on so they can bring that back. Now, here's the thing. That's cool in itself, but I know some people might need some extrinsic motivation. So we have the Experience of 3 box. Now, I was wondering, do you want to know what's in the box? Then you'll have to tweet some stuff out. But I'm going to randomly select one of your posts. I might even get someone else to do it, just so there's no, nepotism. Because, hey, my wife won. But I want you to tweet this out, and at 3 o'clock, there's a spot in the expo called the iHub. There's a little booth right to the left, far left, and I'm going to give that out to someone. And they get to have the box and hopefully take that back to their classroom and have an experience. If you didn't get a bag, because I know there's more people here than what I made bags for, and once again, thank you to Kara and Max for helping me stuff 300 plus bags, just take a picture with a thumbs up, because you're still awesome and you're having an experience. And if that doesn't motivate you enough, then I dare you. Kid of the 80s, I double dare you. Because when someone double dares you to do something, you do it, even if it's your mom. I'm Kyle Kitchen. I hope you have a great experience at this conference, and thank you so much for spending your time with me for the Experience of 3.